Change my camera. I was struggling to hear you and realized it would. I was struggling to hear you and realized it would be so much easier to just put this headset on than to find the audio and change the settings. So here we are. It's giving Janet Jackson control, if I don't date myself. Wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and share and get that out of the way. Uh, in the way of introductions, I don't want to take up a lot of time with who I am. At the end, I'm going to share my website. Feel free to read my bio. I want us to have the most time that we can have because this is a conversation that I feel so connected to. I believe that leadership, there are so many different ways to lead. And so, if you are here, no matter where you are in your career, I hope you find something for you in the way of leadership. In terms of who I am, I've been in the mortgage industry for almost 30 years. And much of what I am going to share with you was born out of that experience. Leadership I didn't like, leadership I wanted to improve on, led me on a quest to go back to school to study leadership. So I do have a master's in leadership with an emphasis in leadership. I have studied counseling. I have another master's in executive coaching. So that just lets you know I am qualified to tell you what I'm telling you. I'm not just making this stuff up. But the stuff that is most important to my heart are the things that are important to many people. When you sit in a seat in a company and you feel the pain of having that leader that you wish was more emotionally intelligent, or you've worked with colleagues who impacted your success because they didn't do their job right. I want to talk about the ways that you can absolutely lead from your seat, whether you choose to run a company or climb the corporate ladder. There is a way that you can lead and get noticed and make yourself invaluable in the workplace. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is leading from your seat and tips for making yourself valuable in the workplace. A bit of housekeeping. If you are taking notes, and I do highly recommend taking notes, not because I think what I'm going to share is so noteworthy, but it helps you to reinforce what you're learning. It helps you to remember what you're learning, because I believe that no matter where your beliefs are, if you've had questions that you've put out into the world, your answers and inspiration is absolutely going to find you. So I'm going to give you a little tip that I like to give whenever I'm presenting for how to take notes. Not that I know you know how to take notes, but I want you to take notes differently today. I want you, if you have a sheet of paper or if you're doing this on your computer, divide it into 4 quadrants. And we're going to label each one. One is going to be old, one is going to be new, one is going to be borrowed, one is going to be blue. You've heard that before at a wedding. So what is old? Old is going to be, I've heard it before, but this is a reminder. If there's something you've heard before and it's a reminder for you, put it in the old. If it's new, like, wow, hadn't heard of that before, hadn't thought of it before, put that under new. If it's borrowed, you can say like, ooh, I like that, and I'm going to use it. Go right ahead. You can have it. That's what I'm here for. And if it's blue, the blue in a wedding, just like the old, new, borrowed blue, blue means love. So if there's something really profound that you say, wow, I love that, I want you to write it in the blue section. And at the end, if time permits, I want you to share some of those things with me. And if we don't have enough time, I'm going to share how we can connect. And I would love to hear what some of your old, your new, your borrowed, and your blue. And can everybody see the presentation? Okay. So I want you to think, what are some of the issues that you think employers face regarding quality of professionals that they employ today? Or if you visited a business recently and you got lackluster service, what are some of the things that come to mind when you think of, wow, employers need better what? And you can just drop that into chat, because I do want us to engage today. Anybody brave want to tackle it? Okay. Okay, and I love that, and I love that you were brave enough to come on camera and speak. And I saw a lot of good stuff in the chat, and so I did a little bit of research and came up with some top high bar things that employers are facing in terms of the people they employ. And this is what we came up with. And some of you said some of these things. Employees not taking responsibility for their actions and mistakes. And that kind of goes to what Jordan is speaking about. When everything is out of control, who's doing what? Like, who's in charge here? I know y'all can employ team, but are the teams running the show? Like, what's going on? You might even see that in the music when you go into an establishment. It's like, who chose Sexy Red for the ambiance in the restaurant? So, there are a lot of things that can go into problems that employers have. Poor communication, we saw that in the chat. Resistance to change, lack of initiative, inconsistent performance, poor time management, absenteeism, conflict with colleagues. That's a big one. A lot of people just aren't vibing with the people they work with. Negativity and skill gaps. And so, for the purpose of our conversation today, yes, there are some of you that are on this call, probably many of you, who will be responsible for handling some of these things, but you're also going to perhaps not start out in that role. You're going to be the answer to one of these things. So when you think about what's going on in the workplace today, you think about the problems that employees are facing, you're going to be the answer to some of those problems. So if you look at this list and if everybody looks ahead, we won't know who's guilty of what. Think about if you find yourself in any of these areas, and we don't have to beat ourselves up, and nobody has to confess because I'm not the Pope. If you find yourself saying, like, you know what, I probably need to get my time management under control when I start working, or I might need to work on my communication because I might go from 0 to 60 a little too quick sometimes. If you find yourself in any of these areas, the good news is you can turn them around immediately. If you want to know how, I'm glad you asked. First, just try forming a new habit. A lot of times it's muscle memory. That being quick to response if you get angry, or if you want to get back with somebody, because when you're in the South, our tongues are slick and we can get with it pretty quickly. But if you want to learn how to just, okay, you know what, I'm gonna slow down, because I read something and I know it's true. One of the biggest answers to resolving anger management is learning how to delay. And we've seen that, because if you think about when someone sends you a text message or a hot email, that first response is usually not the best response. So a lot of times, if you just wait maybe 15 minutes, or if it takes longer, or if you say, I'm going to calm down and I'm going to think about this and I'm going to answer it from a different perspective. Or you could have skill gaps. You want to add some learning in, and we're going to talk about that today. But any of these things you can turn around by first just forming and starting a new habit. They say it takes anywhere from 21 days to 6 weeks to start a new habit. And it doesn't matter how many times you restart. If you're saying, like, you know what, I can be negative sometimes. First of all, don't beat yourself up for that, because there is a reason for every personality. It's just how you use it. People who are more pessimistic are usually the people that help people like me who only see roses and butterflies say, wait a minute, have you thought about this obstacle? Have you thought about this threat? So don't beat yourself up if you're a person who's drawn to that part of the picture, because negativity is an important part of a picture. You can't even have a picture. Some of you may not remember when pictures were actually developed, and people do still take film photography. It's in a dark room, and it's the negatives that give the contrast. Every picture has a negative. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You just want to learn how to hone it, how to bring it in, and how to present that in the workplace. Effective for being a leader. A leader has to learn how to balance that skill or delegate or get some people who brings that perspective. So the second way that you turn things around when you find yourself dealing with any of these things is to immerse yourself in the new skill. Whatever it is, and it might not be one of these, you may think of another habit that you have or thing that you want to change. Immerse yourself in the opposite. Instead of beating yourself up about having this perspective, immerse yourself in the opposite. I want to be on time more, so I'm going to follow people who talk about time management. We are not in an age that lacks information. I don't know, quite literally, with ChatGPT can be eliminated in seconds. Now, you got to test that. You can't just go take it off of what they said. You got to test that out. You can follow people who have done tons of research in these areas, YouTube videos. You can speak to your trusted mentors. There is no reason to not know. In a week, if you spend just a little bit of time, you could learn tremendously how to overcome or how to level up your skills. And then if you still struggle, you can engage a coach or a counselor, or like I said, you can engage in some active mentorship where it's not just a conversation where you're asking, like, can I shadow you? Or, hey, I'm trying to learn this skill. Can you meet with me and hold me accountable to learn more, to do more, to track my progress? I did. I don't know how that happened because I didn't touch the controls, but we're not going to worry about it. So I do you know where I was or what? Okay, so just to recap, to turn any of these around, you can first start forming a habit. You can follow people online that specialize in whatever you're trying to change. You can speak to mentors. You can watch YouTube videos. There's no shame in wherever your deficit is. The only shame in this information age is not availing yourself to the information. So you want to do that. And if you still struggle, you can engage a coach or a counselor because they can help you find the blocks that you may not even think of that are contributing to that habit. And that's the only thing I really want to speak today about, the don'ts. Most of what we're going to talk about today is what to do. Because remember, as you prepare to enter the workforce, interning or up leveling or switching gears, know that you can innovate and set yourself apart because you are absolutely the solution that the companies are looking for. And what most people do when they think about solutions is they do what's already been done. And that's one thing. An excellent book, and I did not bring the reading list. And this will tell me who's really interested in upping their game and might want to take advantage of this opportunity. If you reach out to me, I will send you the reading list. But there is this one book, and it's actually on business strategy. And it talks about the blue ocean and the red ocean. Most people are competing in the red ocean. And the red ocean is red because the sharks are biting and there's a lot of competition. And instead of trying to insert yourself somewhere that's already concentrated, True innovators go for the blue. They go where no one is and start doing something different. That's how you rise above. That's how you set yourself apart. And notice, I'm taking a business book and telling you how you can use it in your seat every day. If you think of yourself like a business, or sometimes when you read these books that you have to read, how I kind of discovered this is it's hard for me to even pay attention without a buy-in for what does it mean to me. I'm looking for how I can apply this to my everyday life. So I'm going to start first on that level. Is there a problem that this book could solve in my everyday life? Then I'm going to apply it professionally. Then I may think about it for business. I don't know if we have people who are actually business owners or aspiring business owners. And there's a lot of conversation about 9-to-5ers versus entrepreneurs. But I want to challenge you today that wherever you go, you are working for yourself. Because real talk, neither is more secure than the other. Just as your job could fire you, your business can dry up. A lot of people have become extremely rich on social media, and I don't knock it. Would love to be one of them. However, what happens when you move on? What happens when there's a new platform and you have to learn all over again? What happens when there's some regulation? What happens when there's some regulation that's passed that changes the game altogether? So the only security you have is the skill that you have and knowing that you truly are the architect of your career. Even if you end up in a job that you don't care for, even if you end up in a role that is seemingly a dead end, if you view every opportunity as a chance to learn something or hone your skills or practice your craft on your way out, it's important to never let a role get you in a rut to where you start performing less than who you are. I will leave any job that would challenge me to say, I ain't giving it much because they don't require much. I'm going to bring it every time. And my last day is going to look just as good as my first because I work for me. My work ethic, my performance, all of that is on me. And I'm telling you, it definitely works because I don't know if you know a lot about the mortgage industry, but the mortgage industry is so volatile. I don't really know an industry that lays off like the mortgage industry. Most of my colleagues have been unemployed for years at a time. I know several people just off the back of my hand that have been unemployed for a year or better. I know some people that got out of the mortgage industry because of the layoffs. The reason it's prone to that is because when it started out, you needed no degree to be in the mortgage industry. You could make a pretty good living monetarily without a degree. And anybody could start a mortgage company, still can. You have the capital. You have all kinds of people starting these mortgage companies. They don't always know the background to do so. There was some legislation after the mortgage crash that made it a little more difficult, but you still don't have to have a degree. So what that means is when their bottom line isn't jiving, they would just lay off or close shop. I've worked for a number of smaller companies, but what helped me to survive is that somebody always wanted to take me with them. When I smelled smoke, I could always put my resume out and go somewhere else. And that's because your work ethic really will work for you if you work it. So consider when you start a new role, think about how you want to embody it. Do you think about how you want to embody it? Do you think about how you want to perform in the role? Do you have a vision for yourself as an employee? And you can put into chat some of the things that you think about when you start a new role. And if you've never thought about it before, now would be a great time to be intentional. I know that we're here to make money, but I promise you, if you focus on following your skill, perfecting your craft, the money will always come. If you focus on the money and you don't consider those other things, yeah, you may end up landing some great roles. You may get the cash you wanted, but then you've left this opportunity of the unique skill set that you brought. And so when we remember starting out and we thought about all those problems that companies are having, and believe me, just like we complain when we go into the businesses, employers are complaining, employees are complaining. During the pandemic, we saw that great resignation because people were really fed up. And while we're on that topic, did anyone hear about the whole notion of, I think they called it silently quitting, or where people stayed in their jobs, but they were kind of just detached from them? And I can't really see you guys because of the way the screen is set up. So I'm gonna need someone to come on mute, come off if they've heard about the silent quitting. Quiet quitting, that's it. Yes. Right, right. I get it. I absolutely get it. And I can tell you, as a leader, it's okay to rest for sure. Because I did read an article, not just the quiet quitting. Some people, it was saying that there are some people who felt like they had been quietly fired, meaning I'm still here collecting a check, but they're not going to do anything else for me. I'm not being looked at for promotion. I'm not being given any more roles. I'm not being given any opportunities. And like Jordan has shared, I don't like my job. I don't like it here. That is why you absolutely have to, as a leader, no matter where you sit. Because I can tell you with almost 100% certainty, they say never, but it's up there like 99.999. We're talking paternity numbers when you look exactly like your dad. I do not want to manage people. It feels, the only way I will manage people is if it's my own company, because I want to have so much control over what I'm able to do. I can't let someone tell me how to manage, because a lot of managers, their hands are tied because of the managers over them. Or their hands are tied because they may want to be a transformational, inspirational manager that elevates their people, pours into their people, but the management pool they sit on, they're not feeling that. So they're so ostracized, and they get into so much trying to be for the people in a company that's not really for the people. So I don't really get into people management or the babysitting. If you're going to come to work and do what you do, great. I don't really, the times that I've managed, it's been such a headache. So I don't want to be a manager, but I'm a leader no matter what role I'm in. So be clear. You can be a leader whether you are a people manager or not, because not all leaders are people managers. But this conversation would be totally different if all people managers were truly leaders. Some people managers are just great individual contributors, and someone has a bright idea to promote them, and they don't have the skills to actually lead people. And when you don't lead people well, but you do your job well, the people indeed suffer. So as you get ready to go into these roles, be clear. Do I want to be a great individual contributor and knock it out the park, that's cool. But if you really want to lead people, you got to study people. You got to be prepared for the people. You got to be prepared for the headaches that come with that. You got to never let them see you. I mean, it's just so much that goes into that. That's also a skill that you want to develop. Because if we're going to truly be the solution, you can just think about the paycheck. Because now I told you guys that I would not be a people manager. I was almost 100% certain. If they pay me so much money that I got up laughing every day, I might just find it in my heart to be a people manager because I know how to do it. So it's okay if you want to chase a bag, but make sure that you're going to be fulfilled, because what you will find is that some jobs, even with a bag you enjoy, when it comes with the sacrifice you don't want to sacrifice, it's just not worth it. So, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Okay, what you got? I love that. I love that. I love that because this this is what I always say. How you do anything is how you do everything. If you let a job, because they're not doing what they need to do, if you let them shape your work ethic and you get used to just half doing it, you take that with you. So when you decide, like he said, like, what will this work? Sometimes the work that you've done stays behind. Now, if you've moved on, and we know that because that's kind of like with the relationships. You were a great partner, you moved on. Unfortunately, some people only realize your value after they lose you. Shame on them. Out, no spinning the block. Your work is still speaking for you and you're gone. So it is important to decide who you're going to be, how you're going to be, what you're going to do. And when you do it, I promise you, it may seem like you're losing when you have to take that hit and start over somewhere else, but it's not cliche, because I don't like cliches. It really is true. You're not starting over from ground zero. You're starting over from a place of experience. You're starting over with the work ethic you built. You're starting over with what you brought with you. Was there anything else you wanted to share? I love that. I love that. And spot on is exactly what we're talking about today. And what is so great, it's not even hard to do in the climate that we're in when we talk about what we are seeing. Uh, the answer to that slide, uh, how do you do it? Now, being a hero, I'm not saying kill yourself. I'm not saying sacrifice. You'll know as we go through this material. I'm not speaking of being disingenuous in any way. But when you look at what employers are facing, when you see what you go through, when you go to a business, it's just not that hard. Back in my day, and this is real. Well, I was a little girl. I'll say I was a little girl when this song came out because it's really old. Uh, there's a lady who wrote a song called Cleanup Woman. And it was talking about the woman who was willing to take the people that had been discarded. And so she was just going to do all the stuff that they didn't want to do. And so she was a cleanup woman. When you think about that in terms of these roles, people have set the bar really low. Companies hire you for the problems that you solve. So if you're not a problem, you're already ahead of your peers. If you can master those things on that first slide, I can tell you will get so far, because it's such a refreshing thing To have the employee you don't have to wonder is going to show up. To have the employee that has already learned his or her role. Like, it brings such a relief. So when you think about being a hero, you're going to find out how to do your job. Some people never ask the how questions, and I know sitting with a bunch of people who are furthering their education by being involved in things like this, it might seem like, of course they ask how, but no. Some people show up and only do what they're told. When you're leading from your seat, you want to know the how. What is this company about? What are they trying to do? What problems am I coming on to solve? What cleanup can I be a part of? If there is if there's an online archive or a SharePoint, or if you have a manual, because I started out approving mortgage loans. One of the things I would always do, and it really set me apart, because you would be surprised how many people don't read the guidelines. And they'll ask their manager certain things like, can we do this or that? And the manager is going to answer because they don't have time to show you where it is. Can we do this or that? Yes, we can. If you already know what we can and cannot do, sometimes you may end up knowing more than your manager. Now, I only say be careful there because it's unfortunate that you have to be. Because like I said, not all managers are leaders. When a manager is not secure, they will have a problem with the student knowing more than the teacher. But if a leader is really secure, they want the students to know more. They light up when the students know more. They employ people who know more because I am as smart as the people in the room. And if that's the case, I want the smartest people possible. Unfortunately, that's not always so. And that's a whole nother webinar. So you've got to know how to manage that. But you still know your job anyway. You can maneuver. You might have to be a little more diplomatic. But know everything that you can know. Now, once you get that knowledge, use your question to do some reality testing on what you absorb. It also will give you a good key on the environment. Are they open to questions? Are they open to change? When you find that they are not, now there are some people who might want to be their calling in life. They're more of the activist type. They want to change the system. They want to buck the system. And so they may be prepared for all that comes with that. I can't speak to it because that is not me. If you don't want to know, I'm not going to tell. Like, when I learned this is a place where challenge is not welcome, I have a few choices. I can accept it. I can do what I can to change it, or I can move on. If I'm still able to do my job and affect what I'm responsible for. Because if you're working with if you're working with customers, or you're working with clients, or you're working with children, sometimes you can still do a great job with bad leadership if you don't let the bad leadership get to you. So consider the environment, do some reality testing, things like, I noticed ABC information on XYZ platform. Are we looking to expand that work? Are we looking to make any chances? This will give you a feel of the direction of the company and the mindset of your leaders. You also want to be concerned with your company's ROI. What do they want? What is their return on their investment? What is it that they're about? What is it that they're trying to do? And those are the things you want to try to figure out. Where do I fit in this? Where does my particular skill set fit in this? How can I shine? And that's where the opportunity comes in. Now, if you find yourself, I don't have a compelling how. I don't feel like I align with their how. I don't align with this environment. I'm not impacting the return on investment. There are not a lot of opportunities here. a lot of people get caught in gridlock because they're trying to recreate the wheel in a place where they have not been given the keys. You can lead from your seat always. But if there is no one there to notice, if you're not making an impact, if you can't find a compelling reason to go forward, it's time to consider, like, am I sharpening my skills here? Because you might, if you have a great job that allows you to develop your craft, let's say you're in something like learning design. You're still doing projects. You could still be getting better at the work that you produce and let all that toxicity like a bubble around you, just let it go. But if it's affecting you and you can't do your job, you got to ask yourself, why am I still here? Because what I don't understand with the whole silent suffering is, why are we staying? It's not even frowned on anymore to find a better opportunity. You've got to know, just like that country song, you got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them. You got to know when to walk away, and you got to know when to run. And quickly. The idea of sunken costs in investment is, I've spent a lot of time here, so I may as well stay. That's a bad philosophy in relationships, bad philosophy in jobs. If you've invested a lot of time and it's not working, it's time to redeem and reclaim your time and get out of that situation. So, do we have anything further before we move ahead? You got to. You absolutely have to. Yes. And so, tip number 1 for what it is that you do so that you overcome what we talked about in that first slide is to know that leaders are readers and readers are leaders. And because we've been clear, you don't have to be a people manager to be a leader. If you are going to expand your skill set, if you're going to be great at what you do, you absolutely have to do some reading. And I clearly did not read that second reader needed an S, but I noticed it now. So I want you to know, reading has so many benefits, and it doesn't matter what you read or how you consume the information. You want to be getting more information in. But here are some of the benefits of reading. Mental stimulation. It keeps your brain alive and active and engaged. That staleness and stagnation that you might have in your job, you're already collecting information for your next. It says, like, you know what, I'm right here, but I may not always be right here. It's going to stimulate some creativity, some things that you might not have thought about. Like, I don't think people realize reading is not just like, oh, it's a bookworm activity. And I know it's hard because when you're in school, you have to do a lot of required reading. But there are so many ways to get information in now. You can play an audiobook. Zig Ziglar said, if you listen to an audiobook for your 30-minute commute home and back, and I don't know if you're blessed with a 30-minute commute, you are blessed. Well, let's say you listen just for 30 minutes, so an hour a day. In 2 years, you would have as much information as a degree. That's like the core part, the 2-year core. Because you're listening, you're not doing the fluff. If you do 2 years of listening in a study, and then if you just let's say you just make it a habit. When I looked at my Audible, because I'll do Audible, I'll do Scribd, I'll let my Kindle read to me, I'll let Apple read a page. Like, I love information because I come from a lot of toxic situations, and I always wanted to know, how should this be? Who can I look to? If you don't have the business role models, if you don't have mentors that you can get in touch with, and me personally, after paying Sallie Mae, it's just hard for me to pay people to tell me any more stuff. I got to get some of the stuff for free. A book, you can even get that from the library. You have access to a mogul from the library. And you would be surprised how much that information translates in ways that you didn't consider. Reading Steve Jobs' book, and I got to tell you, it was a 26-hour audiobook, was so inspiring when I looked at the ways that he innovates. Now, I'm not trying to make an iPhone. That's nowhere near my dream or my career path, but it's a translatable skill. It's like that man had an idea and he was relentless. He got Kodak to sell him technology that they didn't even know how to use. He got the copier machine. It was somebody else that he got to sell the LED technology. All of that, all of the ways that he got people who thought, oh, there's nothing we can do with this. And because he had that innovation in his blood, he was able to bring what we saw today. So there's so many ways that you can be inspired by reading. It improves your focus for what you do every day. It allows you to be able to consume large amounts of material, and that kind of thing sets you apart, because we know that people don't like to necessarily read. So that's my plug for if you want to set yourself apart. When you can have those types of conversations with the people you work with and for, it's a game changer. Number 2, mindset is everything, because you don't see the world as it is. You see the world through the lens of who you are and how you think about things. Think about it. What makes a negative person negative? And what makes a positive person positive? What makes an intelligent person intelligent? What makes an insightful person insightful? What makes that funny person funny? It's all about how they think, how they see the world. So you truly do want to have and foster a growth mindset. You want to always be learning, always be growing, always evolving to be the best you possible. And like somebody said earlier about knowing your value, the best you is not some endless pursuit of perfection, because your value is already settled. It's about being the best you for your current set of circumstances and the life you want for yourself. So if you're going to be stubborn and stuck about anything, if you're going to have a habit that you just can't let go, let it be personal growth. Let it be you against you every time. Compete with no one. Let it be like, I want to see if I can just, and you don't have to make huge goals like I want to be 100% better. I just want to see if I can do this a little bit better. I just want to see if I can do this a little bit faster. If you're trying to overcome procrastination, you could set a small goal. Like if it takes me 2 minutes, I'm going to do it now. Then you can move that up. If it takes me 5 minutes, I'm going to do it now. I'm going to make a list of all the things I've been putting off, and I'm just going to make a goal to do 1 of those a week. Then once you're doing that successfully, I'm going to make a goal to do 2 of those a week. Yes, a lot of this may be a part of our mental health, but healing is simply changing the environment. So if you think about anything that you're trying to heal or change, how you heal or change or grow is when you're in the same circumstance and you make a different choice. So if you're going to lead from your seat and make yourself invaluable, you've got to have a growth mindset. And so if you look at this image, you can see the way a grower thinks. Get well past thinking that mistakes are fatal. Get well past thinking that you failed if you're still in the game You've just figured out what didn't work. You've just, a mistake is like, okay, what can I learn from that? If you just take what you can learn from a thing, in every mistake has a seed of possibility in it. So you should always be looking to say, like, I'm going to accept myself because that's settled, but I'm also going to be preparing myself for domination. We don't talk about it a lot in professional settings, but you will grow yourself because you truly love yourself and you realize you owe yourself the things you want. Because all of us have goals. And the reason why we don't always give them to ourselves is because either we're not thinking we're worthy of it, we don't think it matters enough. But when you really love yourself and you want to not let you down. You want to give yourself what you want. You want to see what would happen if I don't quit. What would happen if I play full out? What would happen if I just live up to my potential? So the difference between being a person who wins and succeeds sometimes is just doing those things that you've promised yourself over the thing that is convenient or comfortable. A lot of people have dreams that die because of convenience and comfort. You've got to decide what I really want and if I'm going after it, because discipline and tenacity really is required. But that's the part that we develop. That's the part that we've got to bring to it. That's the muscle that we have to strengthen, and it only gets to be so by the work that we do, because it really is so separately. And so tip number 3, keep it real, but know how real to keep it. Some people want to be so real, like, I'm going to be me. What you don't realize is that there is no me. A person stuck in their personality is acting because you won't change it for any. That means, no, I got to be this. I don't care what the situation calls for. I got to be this. That's more of an actor than bending to a circumstance. So you got to remember, you're always on stage. So I have to be clear when I tell people to be a great employee, because they think that things like teacher's pet or butt kisser and the like, and it's none of that. Be who you truly want to be. Be the person you would hire. Be the person if you own the company. Because I'm not suggesting that you be disingenuous or inauthentic, but keeping it real. If it leads to poverty, I think I want to try something else. I think I'd at least want to try on a different persona. And if you got rich today, like you hit the lottery, you're going to change some things, because you'll quickly find, like, this life has a different set of rules. You're still going to be who you are, but you're going to have to change some of your habits. And that's all it is when we talking about professionality. And I want to keep moving because we have a few more tips I want to get to, and I want to give you a chance to tell me what you thought about. Save the drama, but as a mother, I'm going to say, don't even save it for your mama. Companies are hiring for the problems you solve and will get rid of you for the problems you cause. Don't get caught up. Be aware of what's going on, but keep a healthy distance. Be engaged, but don't be entangled. Pass by the water cooler altogether. Like, you're going to be like the football players when they're sticking and moving and they're running. Like, hey, here you, okay, I'm sorry you're going through that. Keep a smile. Just keep it moving, because it will drag you under. I always like to tell people when they want to give me their version of the company politics, I just don't need that information, because I know who I'm going to be. I know what I'm bringing to the table. So why would I think I'm going to get what you got? Maybe the fact that you're telling everybody how bad the place is, that might be something about why you have the experience you have. My mindset is everything, and my mind is on what I can do. And that has truly served me well. I don't assume anyone's issues are going to be my issues, because I keep the main thing. This one right here, I highly recommend this book. This is another one that would be on the list. You'll see the 4 agreements, and he recently added a 5th agreement. Some of this is so important, and it helps you with what goes on in the workplace. Number 2, don't take anything personally. You are never responsible for the action of others, only your reaction. And what others do is about them. And how we know this is true is like if you were walking through an insane asylum and there were crazy people doing all kinds of crazy things, you would not take it personal, anything they said to you, unless it hit home. So now, you walking through a mental institution, you know your weakness. If they yelled out something about your weakness, you might just, for a minute, be like, wait a minute. Did they know something about me? Oh my God, I can't believe they said that. And rightfully so. You would be what we call triggered. But do you notice the only way that they could trigger you is if it was already inside you? So if you flip that around, most people cannot even trigger you without your participation. Because here, if a stranger said something about you and you don't believe it, it's not going to land. It only lands if you believe it. So it speaks to the fact that in these workplaces, there are people who have done no work, some work, training, good people managers, people that don't know how to lead from a hole in the ground. You got to not take that personal. You got to get that off. You got to shake that off. Yes, mental health is important, but mental resilience is even better. Not you won't break my soul. You can't touch my soul because I didn't bring it in here today. I just came to do a job and I'm going to dip out. There's nothing you can do. You've got to get some of that because people just are not healed. So you can't take it personal. But this book, being as diligent to your self-mastery as you are mastering your craft, you know you. So when it hits a little home, you know what? The only reason that mattered to me is because I got a tender spot. They didn't even know that, and I'm not going to even let them know it. I'm going to keep it moving. I'm going to take the high road. That is such an important thing to have because you're going to encounter all kinds of people. Number 6, learn as much as you can, but don't be a know-it-all. And what this novice to expert to novice, you're going to come in not knowing some things and you're going to become an expert. The reason why a lot of people don't grow is that they stay an expert. You want to go be a novice somewhere else so you can learn another skill so you can grow again. But when you go to that new skill, you might be an expert in some things, but you're not an expert in all things. So when you continually, you're able to go from novice to expert. You're not a know-it-all. You don't care that you don't know some things. Nobody knows everything. Everybody has some gaps. I don't care how much it seems like that's not true. Everybody has some of those gaps. So you want to be okay with what you don't know. Practice it. Like for a week, instead of knowing, just say, you know what, I'm going to be, I don't know. You know what? I don't know. I'm going to find out. You know what? I don't know about that. I'm not sure. So that you don't have a complex about not knowing. Because not knowing is beautiful in that it's the gateway to knowing. The last thing is enjoy the ride. As you're up-leveling and growing your skills and conquering your habits and slaying your goals, don't forget to breathe, have fun, and do things that nourish your soul. Because what happens, the reason why some of those leaders are toxic is that they just don't have enough good air. They're not cultivating hobbies and healthy relationships. They're not celebrating their wins. So they have too much riding on being successful in the workplace. When you don't let that be the only thing that defines you, and when you settle your worth, like someone said earlier, when you look in the mirror and know my worth is not defined by this job, this is what I do, this is not who I am, it makes the pursuit that much greater. So that's all I have for today. This has been great. It's hard condensing what would normally be a full day, because we could literally talk about these things for a full day, and it would have been great because I could have heard so much more from all of you. But this is good information that I wanted you to have because I really want to see those who want to win. So If you want to get in touch with me, if you want to share with me some of your old news, borrowed and blues, you can reach me on the web. I have a contact form, and this is my QR code for my LinkedIn. And this has been great. Thank you. I'm reading through the comments. That was a great. Thank you guys so much.